R demo, executing scripts. Session prerequisites, browse to our earlier material on R and R Studio, the environment, how to work with variables. In preparation, please have R Studio open on your computer and follow along. Maximum benefit guaranteed. Learning objectives, learn how to run and write small programs in R. Highlight some problems and provide their answers.
Here's how we're going to proceed with this tutorial. Because there's a lot of typing involved, I'd rather provide you with the final scripts or programs as you call it as a file. You can go ahead and download them to your machine. Every now and then I might ask you to load a file into RStudio. The way to do that is File, Open File. So I will go ahead and load onedata.r now. Let's explore this program step by step. So I have double clicked on onedata.r. I'm going to just close the other, don't want to save it. And here is my first tutorial file. Everything that you see in green, which begins with a pound sign, denotes a comment. And an R program is just a bunch of commands on separate lines. So these are comments and this is a statement that will be run. So let me explain this program over here. I have a comment that says this is how you declare a set of numbers. So I have a vector of numbers between 1 and 10 being assigned to the variable position. What I'm going to do is to look at the first 10 primes and finally see if we can have some sort of a relationship between the position of the first 10 primes as well as the value of those primes. Alright? So here are my first 10 primes. I'm going to run some stats on these primes by just taking mean and standard deviation. And cat is essentially a print routine which goes ahead and prints it out saying this is the mean of my primes. I can even see if there is a correlation between the positions and the prime numbers themselves. Remember, the positions are not all primes. 4 is a position. What is the fourth prime? We've got 2, 3, 5, 7. So 7 is the fourth prime. You got that? So having gotten the correlation, I'm going to go ahead and plot the positions and the primes. The positions on the x-axis and the primes on the y-axis. All of these are options to the plot. And finally, we will go about doing a regression fit. You wouldn't believe how simple it is in R compared to many other packages. Sometimes we split a single R command across several lines so it becomes clearer to read. You've seen many instances of that. As a best practice, I suggest that you use meaningful names for your variables as well as comment everything you do heavily. Any programmer will tell you that uncommented code is a nightmare to handle. Now that you've got a good hang of how a program looks in R, why don't we go ahead and run it? And by running, I'm going to go run it all together with one touch of the source button. And I've hit the source button. I've got things to appear in my console window and in my plots window. Told you it was not going to be that difficult. Here's the deal. As long as you understand this minimal script, you'll do quite well on the remaining part of the tutorial. What I suggest you do is to go through the program and highlight each line and run it one by one. And by line, I mean a logical line, because a command could be split across several lines, and I will call that one line. If there is any confusion, stop, rewind and go over it once again. So let me begin with a clean slate here. Here's my first line. I'll run it. And when I ran it, something appeared here which stores the numbers 1 through 10. I'll run my second line and I get the primes. I will take the mean and standard deviations and print them out. You notice that I've always been hitting the run button because I just want them executed partially. So the mean of the first 10 primes would be 12.9, almost 13, which is a lucky number. The standard deviation is 9. How about a correlation? And if you notice, even though this statement has been split across two different lines, the output comes out as one single line. The next is a very important command. It produces a plot. So I will go ahead, run it, and I get a bunch of colorful primes. Trying to do this in a standard package like Excel would take you some time. Finally, I know that all of these primes look like a line can go through it in some way. That's called a regression fit. We will go over that later in our course series. But for now, just bear with me. This is how you would create a regression fit and place that line on that plot. That was a walkthrough.